Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, magandang umaga po. Today's event marks 8 years since the landmark 2016 Arbitral Award. Yet, here we are again, still talking about how we're going to achieve maritime security in the West Philippine Sea. Because sadly, as we all know, we have continued to see conduct in the South China Sea that is dangerous and destabilizing, including as recently as on 17th of June near Second Thomas Shoal. Australia is deeply concerned about the illegal boarding and towing of Philippine vessels, seizure of equipment, and harm to Philippine personnel undertaking what is a routine mission to Second Thomas Shoal within the Philippines EEZ. This most recent conduct is an escalation in a deeply concerning pattern of behavior by China that endangers what we talked about today, the important regional peace and stability, which threatens lives and creates risks of miscalculation and escalation. We all have an obligation to adhere to international law, particularly UNCLOS, in all waterways, including the South China Sea. That is why it is very fitting that today's session is titled A Collective Pursuit of Maritime Security in the West Philippine Sea. Because we know that maritime security is not something that can be achieved alone. It requires all our efforts. It must be a collective pursuit. So now, before I launch into how Australia and the Philippines are elevating our capacity building efforts as our contribution to our collective pursuit, I also want to address why Australia cares so much about maritime security in the South China Sea, and why we continue to call on adherence to UNCLOS and the 2016 Arbitral Award. In short, it's simple. It's because of our shared values and interests. We value respect for sovereignty and territorial integrity. We believe in countries having the freedom to make their own choices and decide their own future. And we have a shared interest in upholding and protecting international law and the international rules-based system which supports that vision. A system where every country, big or small, operates by the long-established rules, standards and laws that support peace, stability and prosperity. Rules which we have had opportunities to shape and to which we have agreed. Rules that support each country to pursue its own aspirations in a region where no country dominates and no country is dominated. A system where even when countries disagree, as on occasion we will do, those disagreements are resolved peacefully and in accordance with international law, not through intimidation and coercion. And we all have a responsibility to lower the tension, to melt the ice, to create space for dialogue, to bridge the differences. The 2016 Arbitral Award underscores that international law is fundamental to the continuing peace, prosperity, and stability of our region. And the situation we are facing 8 years since the tribunal's clear and unanimous decisions show us that there is still such a strong need for all of us to continue to underline the importance of adhering to our obligations under international law. As President Marcos said when he addressed the Australian Parliament earlier this year, just as we fought to build our rules-based international order, so are we now fighting to protect it. And as a fellow maritime nation with a deep respect for the international rule of law, these are words that resonate well with Australia. When welcoming President Marcos to Australia, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said this: "We are both island nations. We are both trading nations. And for both of us, the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea is not an abstraction or a theoretical question. Freedom of navigation is fundamental to our sovereignty, our prosperity, our security, and our territorial integrity." But as you all know, maritime claims that are inconsistent with international law, inconsistent with UNCLOS, are being pursued. Unlawful claims are being asserted through intimidation. Unsafe behaviour is increasing the risks of accidents and miscalculation. Provocative and destabilising actions are raising tensions. Regional peace and security is being endangered by the unilateral escalation in aggressive tactics. And so, we continue to gather at events such as this. We continue to speak out against conduct that is aggressive, illegal, and dangerous. And it is why we will continue to support the Philippines to enhance its maritime security, protect international order, and manage its marine resources consistent with its sovereign rights. And it is why we are continuing to work collaboratively with partners across the region, and why we are unwavering in our support of ASEAN centrality as vital to the pursuit of regional peace and prosperity. At the Australian National Centre for Ocean Resources and Security, we are conducting Law of the Sea courses, training over 548 Philippine government officials across 24 agencies. Late last year, the Australian government was proud to support the launch of a new Philippine Institute at the Australian National University in Canberra. The keynote address was, of course, presented by the retired Honourable Justice Anthony Capio, and he very aptly discussed the importance of justice and the rule of law in maritime disputes. Australia is also pleased to be enhancing our civil maritime cooperation with the Philippines through our newly signed MOU, including enhanced cooperation between the Australian Border Force and the Philippine Coast Guard. In fact, only this month, a representative of the Australian Border Force will be deployed to Manila on a long-term basis to bolster this very important cooperation between our two agencies. Meanwhile, of course, our defence forces are continuing to conduct maritime cooperative activities with the Philippines and other partners in the region. We will continue to exercise freedom of navigation and overflight and support the rights of others to do the same. As our Foreign Minister Penny Wong has said repeatedly, Australia will always seek our security within the security of our region. We all have a responsibility to shape the region that we want to live in. This is why Australia welcomed recent news of the Philippines and Vietnam agreeing to work together to settle their maritime boundaries, and welcome all countries seeking to do so in accordance with international law. And this is why we welcome the discussions between the Philippines and China too, to de-escalate tensions. Dialogue is absolutely necessary. And at the opening of the Maritime Cooperation Forum during the ASEAN-Australia Special Summit in March this year, our Foreign Minister said ASEAN's collective voice resonates when it speaks up in support of the importance of sovereignty and rules. And it resonated when, in December 2023, ASEAN foreign ministers issued a statement in which they expressed concern about developments that threaten regional peace and security in the maritime sphere. We need more of this. And Australia welcomed the statement not only because we agree with its content and intent, but because, as I said before, ASEAN is at the centre of a stable, peaceful, prosperous and secure region where sovereignty is respected and all countries benefit from strategic balance. And so we continue to work alongside our partners here in the Philippines to take forward ASEAN-endorsed projects to strengthen the institutional capacity of the expanded ASEAN Maritime Forum. The Philippines is not facing this challenge alone. It is a challenge that cannot be faced alone, not by any one country in this room. So we will continue to pursue, collectively, maritime security in the West Philippine Sea. And as the Australian ambassador to the Philippines, I can tell you this: you can count on Australia. Maraming salamat po.